When people hear the phrase Windows 12, they immediately imagine a dramatic comeback story. They picture a bold new interface, groundbreaking AI features, lightning-fast performance, and a triumphant return of dominance from Microsoft. For decades, Windows has been the backbone of personal computing. From the early days of Windows 95 to the corporate stronghold of Windows 7 and the controversial leap into Windows 11, Microsoft has repeatedly reinvented its flagship product to stay relevant. But here's the uncomfortable truth that very few people are willing to say out loud. Windows 12, no matter how polished or powerful it turns out to be, will not save Microsoft. Because Microsoft does not need saving in the way many think. And more importantly, the real challenges facing Microsoft are far deeper than any operating system update can fix. To understand why Windows 12 won't be the dramatic rescue mission some are expecting, we have to first look at how Microsoft actually makes its money today. When most people think of Microsoft, they think of Windows. They think of that familiar logo and the desktop environment they've used for years. But Windows is no longer the center of Microsoft's universe. In fact, Windows has gradually shifted from being the company's primary revenue engine to just one piece of a much larger ecosystem. Under the leadership of Satya Nadella, Microsoft transformed itself from a Windows-centric software company into a cloud-first, services-driven powerhouse. The real money today comes from Azure cloud computing, enterprise subscriptions, server solutions, and business software like Microsoft 365. Windows is important, yes, but it is no longer the lifeline. Azure, in particular, has become one of the most critical pillars of Microsoft's future. It competes directly with Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud, and it generates tens of billions in revenue annually. Enterprise contracts, long-term cloud deals, AI infrastructure services, and hybrid cloud solutions are what investors watch closely now. When Microsoft's stock rises or falls, it is rarely because of a Windows feature update. It is because of cloud growth, AI strategy, and enterprise performance. So when people claim that Windows 12 must be revolutionary or Microsoft is doomed, they are misunderstanding where the company stands financially. However, that does not mean everything is smooth sailing. Microsoft faces very real challenges. The PC market itself is no longer growing at the explosive rate it once did. Global PC shipments have fluctuated dramatically in recent years. Many consumers are holding on to devices longer. Some are shifting to tablets, smartphones, or even cloud-based workflows that reduce reliance on traditional desktop operating systems. In education, Chromebooks have gained significant ground. In creative industries, macOS continues to maintain strong loyalty. And in the developer community, Linux has quietly expanded its influence. Windows 12 cannot magically reverse these macro trends. There is also a growing trust issue among certain segments of users. Windows 11 sparked controversy with stricter hardware requirements, mandatory TPM modules, and aggressive upgrade prompts. Many older but perfectly functional machines were left behind. For everyday users, this created frustration. For businesses, it introduced new costs. If Windows 12 doubles down on similar policies, it risks further alienating a portion of its base. And if it reverses course completely, it may signal inconsistency in long-term strategy. Either way, the decision will not single-handedly determine Microsoft's future. It will simply reflect how the company balances innovation with compatibility. Another factor that Windows 12 cannot solve is the shift toward platform independence. Increasingly, users rely on web-based applications. Tools like Google Docs, Slack, Zoom, and countless SaaS platforms run in browsers and function almost identically across operating systems. The browser has become the new universal layer. In that environment, the operating system matters less than it once did. As long as it can run a modern browser smoothly, many users are satisfied. This trend reduces the emotional and functional attachment to Windows specifically. It also means that Microsoft's long-term success depends more on its service integration and ecosystem strength than on flashy desktop redesigns. Artificial intelligence is another major battleground. Microsoft has invested heavily in AI partnerships and infrastructure, integrating AI assistants and copilots into its products. Windows 12 will almost certainly lean heavily into AI-driven features. Smarter search, contextual suggestions, automation, and system-level AI helpers will likely be central selling points. But AI integration is not unique to Windows. Apple is building its own AI strategy. Google has AI deeply embedded into Android and ChromeOS. Open-source communities are experimenting with AI-powered Linux tools. The competition is not about whether Windows has AI. It is about whether Microsoft can build a sustainable ecosystem where AI services generate recurring revenue and enterprise loyalty. An OS update alone cannot secure that. Then there is the matter of perception. For many tech enthusiasts, Microsoft represents legacy computing. Even as the company innovates in cloud and AI, Windows is sometimes seen as bloated, heavy, or overly commercialized. Advertising placements in the start menu, pre-installed apps, telemetry concerns, and subscription pushes have shaped public opinion. Windows 12 might streamline the interface, reduce clutter, and optimize performance, but changing a brand perception built over years requires more than aesthetic tweaks. It requires consistent user-first decisions over time. At the same time, Microsoft is not in crisis mode. Financially, the company remains one of the most valuable corporations in the world. Its diversification strategy has worked. LinkedIn continues to grow as a professional network. GitHub remains a central hub for developers. Microsoft 365 subscriptions bring recurring revenue from businesses and individuals. Xbox, while facing stiff competition, remains a strong brand in gaming. These segments collectively reduce reliance on any single product. Windows 12 failing to excite consumers would not topple this empire. But neither would it dramatically transform Microsoft's trajectory if it succeeds. The real truth about Microsoft's future is that it is less dependent on consumer desktop dominance and more dependent on infrastructure control. Whoever controls the cloud, AI infrastructure, enterprise workflows, and productivity ecosystems will shape the next decade of technology. Windows 12 may serve as a gateway into that ecosystem, but it is not the ecosystem itself. The operating system is becoming a gateway, a portal into subscription services and cloud integration rather than the main product. There is also a generational shift happening. Younger users growing up today are often more comfortable on smartphones and tablets than traditional desktops. Some students may go through entire school systems primarily using Chromebooks or iPads. Developers might start their careers on macOS or Linux. The emotional bond that earlier generations had with Windows XP or Windows 7 is less universal now. Windows 12 can attempt to attract younger users with modern design and gaming optimizations, but habits formed in childhood ecosystems are powerful. Microsoft must compete in those environments too, not just on the desktop. Gaming is one area where Windows still has a powerful advantage. The majority of PC games are optimized for Windows. DirectX remains a critical technology. Windows 12 could double down on gaming performance, better driver management, and seamless Xbox integration. But even here, the landscape is shifting. Cloud gaming, cross-platform engines, and subscription-based services are changing how people access games. The future of gaming may depend more on streaming infrastructure and service bundles than on the underlying desktop OS. Security is another challenge. As cyber threats evolve, Microsoft must constantly defend millions of devices worldwide. Windows 12 will likely introduce new security architectures, sandboxing, hardware-level protections, and zero-trust models, but security is a moving target. Each update strengthens defenses, yet attackers adapt. The public perception of Windows security has improved over the years, but it remains an area where trust must be continuously earned. One major vulnerability can overshadow 1,000 incremental improvements. Enterprise adoption patterns also matter. Businesses do not upgrade operating systems impulsively. They plan migrations years in advance. Compatibility with legacy software, internal tools, and custom applications determines rollout timelines. Windows 12 will need to balance cutting-edge features with deep backward compatibility. If it disrupts enterprise workflows, adoption could be slow. And if adoption is slow, headlines declaring it a failure may surface, even if the long-term strategy remains intact. Perhaps the most important realization is this. Microsoft's transformation under Satya Nadella has already insulated it from the fate of relying solely on Windows' success. The company that once aggressively defended Windows against all competitors now embraces cross-platform development. Microsoft Office runs on macOS and mobile devices. Azure supports Linux workloads. Visual Studio Code thrives across operating systems. This strategic openness means that even if Windows loses some market share, Microsoft still profits from services running elsewhere. So when people ask whether Windows 12 will save Microsoft, they are asking the wrong question. The better question is whether Microsoft's broader strategy aligns with the evolving nature of computing. The operating system is just one layer in a stack that now includes cloud infrastructure, AI models, developer platforms, collaboration tools, and enterprise analytics. Microsoft's success will depend on how well these layers integrate and how effectively the company competes against rivals like Apple, Google, Amazon, and emerging AI-focused startups. There is also regulatory pressure to consider. Big tech companies face increasing scrutiny from governments worldwide. Antitrust concerns, data privacy laws, and AI regulations could shape Microsoft's strategic moves. Windows 12 cannot shield the company from legal and policy challenges. Navigating global regulatory environments requires careful diplomacy and compliance strategies that extend far beyond product design. At the cultural level, Microsoft must maintain innovation without repeating past missteps. The company once struggled with internal silos and slow adaptation. Its modern culture emphasizes collaboration and cloud-first thinking. Sustaining that momentum is crucial. An operating system launch can generate headlines, but corporate culture determines long-term resilience. Ultimately, Windows 12 will likely be polished, faster, more AI-driven, and deeply integrated with Microsoft services. It may impress reviewers. It may spark upgrade cycles. It may even win back some critics. But it will not single-handedly redefine Microsoft's destiny. The company's future lies in infrastructure dominance, AI leadership, enterprise trust, and ecosystem integration. The truth is less dramatic than the headlines suggest. Microsoft is neither on the brink of collapse nor poised for miraculous salvation through a single OS release. It is a diversified technology giant navigating an era of rapid transformation. Windows 12 is a chapter, not the climax. The real story is about how Microsoft positions itself in a world where computing is everywhere, devices are diverse, and the cloud quietly powers nearly everything we do. And that is why Windows 12 won't save Microsoft. Because Microsoft's future was never going to be saved or destroyed by one operating system. It will be shaped by how effectively the company adapts to a computing landscape that no longer revolves around the desktop alone.